One of the earliest copywriters that I admired was Michael Fortin. I don't really admire a whole lot of copywriters in general, but that was one of the guys that I liked his stuff. And he is apparently the first $1 million copywriter online, and that was what he was known for. And if I recall correctly, he wrote the original sales letter for Carbon Copy Pro, which they used to make millions and millions of dollars. And it was pretty fresh at the time to the whole scene. From what I recall of that letter, he was paid something like $100,000 to write it, which probably was a bargain considering how much money it made. The guy was recently on an interview. After a long absence, I hadn't heard about him in quite some time. I haven't actually thought about him for some time, but I saw him in an interview recently by accident with a guy on a channel that I have been paying attention to recently called Coffeezilla. And this guy, what he does is he looks at all these internet marketers primarily, and he exposes, and it's not just from the internet marketing realm, but basically people who sell Forex courses, people who sell stock market trading courses rather, people who sell Amazon coaching and various Amazon how to get rich on Amazon type products. So he exposes those guys, and many of them are people who are well known in our industry, and in fact quite often revered. So if I were to come and say such and such is a piece of shit, there'd be quite a few people on my among my subscribers who'd be like, "What are you talking about? That guy's like a legend." So he's I'm not going to start doing that, but I tend to agree with most of his analyses. Because he isn't doing it from a place of just a personal opinion. He's going in and he's doing his research, he's buying their products, he's attending their seminars and coaching and whatnot, and trying them out, and then exposing them. So he was interviewing Michael Fortin, who wanted to do this interview with him because I guess he too has been following Coffeezilla and has agreed with many of the opinions that are shared over there about many of the characters. So another thing that just to mention, he's actually the guy who wrote Traffic Secrets, which is now owned by Russell Brunson, but he originally wrote it apparently for John Reese. So just to show you, who we're dealing with. This is a pretty sophisticated, well-established, old school guy from the internet copywriting, internet marketing world. And he was talking about why he sort of moved away from the industry of internet marketing. And he said, he was pointing out so many of the things that I think are wrong with the industry. One of the ideas being, the way that people, they say stories sell. So yeah, they go ahead and they fabricate a story. The story is not just a fabricate. It's not an innocent fabrication. They'll tell a story about a guy who's a doctor while selling a health related product, for instance. They'd fabricate stories about basically case studies, testimonials, and things like that to make promises about their products that cannot possibly be true. And the thing that had sort of opened up his eyes with this the most was that his wife got cancer at one point, and then they were looking at all these. They would see all these. On these online gurus, these online guys selling remedies and stuff like that, and they basically say, "Hey, don't do chemotherapy, don't do the things that are essentially designed to save her life." and instead, buy this snake oil that they're selling. And I've seen this sort of thing all throughout the internet marketing world, and it's actually quite disturbing. So one of the things that was kind of cool about the interview that I thought I'd like to talk about and share with you guys is how he was talking about the idea of NLP and how NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, I think originally coined by Tony Robbins, is used. It's kind of like being used in all these different industries to get across this idea that you can sort of get people to, mind trick people into buying your product, basically. And he talks about how copywriting is. I think the most astounding thing that a copywriter might say is that the copywriting doesn't matter. And I think that's what he said, which is, that's like, wow, seriously, he's a copywriter and he says that. He's basically talking himself out of a job. But I think that he's absolutely right. Because if you've created a valuable product, a good product, and you're selling that product, you don't need to trick anyone into buying it. If it's a good product and it solves problems like it's supposed to, NLP is not necessary. You don't have to mind trick anybody into buying that product. You just tell them about your product, some basic information. Here's what it is. Here's what it does. Here's how much it costs. How many do you want to order? Here's a buy button for it, and it should be quite sufficient. You shouldn't have to pull out any major copywriting trickery in order to get people to buy that product. And I think that, and I've always subscribed to that viewpoint. And I do things like I'll write sales letters that even an amateur copywriter could come along, look at my sales letter, and be like, oh, you didn't use this, you could have done that. Your benefit. Like I had a guy look at one of my recent sales letters just to sort of get a second opinion, and he said to me, oh, whenever you say something like this, he tried to teach me the basics of the most basic thing, which is how to describe a benefit. So so what, after you've finished making your statement, ask yourself, so what, so that you can bring it back to the person's world in order to explain to them, how does that benefit you? What do you get out of this particular thing that's being described? Now, it's not wrong advice. I think it's good. It's generally good advice. But the fact that it wasn't included, that this amateur copywriter was able to poke a hole in my letter and be like, hey, that letter's missing that. That's what you need to do more of. That's not really that surprising, because I certainly don't go around. I actually deliberately avoid my letters, my sales presentations sounding like anything else that's out there. I'll go through, if I find anything that is like a common expression that's used, for example, ninja. If I find myself saying something like that, and I'll take that out, I'll replace it. Bonuses. You'll notice that when I describe bonuses, I typically don't describe them in sales presentation as bonuses. I'll call it surprises. I'll call them like extras. I'll call them anything else except for bonuses. You might have noticed things like where I don't call my course, my training program, a program necessarily. I mean, sometimes I do, but there's times where I'll be like, hey, you know what? Let's call it something else. So there's always this this attempt to avoid what are common copywriting cliches, basically, rather than an attempt to try to insert more of those. I recently saw an email, or rather, a message from one of my colleagues talking about using short headlines, and it was hilarious to me that he needed to that like not the fact that short headlines work. I mean, he's a wonderful copywriter, but the fact that he needed to explain to his audience why a short headline can actually be a good idea. That was like, wow, people out there, like, they actually genuinely believe that you need a long, ugly ass headline in order to make sales, and sometimes a longer headline is appropriate. But I mean, for me, I've always found that using a very brief, a very short main headline, and then maybe a longer sub-headline or a lead paragraph or something like that was more appropriate. But anyway, like none of these are necessary. Like, the trickery is not part of it. This is just a style. That's all it is. To me, it's a style. If your product is good, you shouldn't have to trick anybody into buying it. You shouldn't need to do any crazy sales tactics or crazy copywriting. If it's good enough, it will sell itself. It won't sell itself, obviously. I think that's an exaggeration too. No product really sells itself. But basically, the product will tell you what to say about it. You'll have no trouble explaining what your product is and what it does. And that's sufficient to get somebody to consider buying it, rather than having to, fake a story, make up a story, make up some fake characters, and go through this whole song and dance in order to make people to convince people that they might want to think about buying your product. In addition, they talk about, oh, you should put a guarantee and things like that. And the guarantee for me is like a stickling point. It's like, why am I respect my product. Okay. I put a lot of work into my product. I have a great respect for my product, right? And it's not the kind of product which, if you, it's not like a product where you get it, oh, it's defective, and I should be able to replace it because it's defective, right? Suppose I, was selling a mouse, and that computer mouse doesn't operate. It for some reason, it just doesn't work. It makes sense that if you receive this mouse and it doesn't work, you can send it back and ask me to replace it. Similarly, if I sent you a mouse and I told you that my mouse is so fantastic that it will actually last you for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, through thick and thin, and I guarantee that because I think that its quality is that fantastic, then sure, I respect my product when I tell you that you can, if you can prove that I'm wrong and this product doesn't last the 10 years, send it back. But with a product like an info product, dude, if you in most cases, if you go through the material, you obtain the information, right? So you've collected from it what is of value. Now, to tell you that you can return that is just saying, look, I don't really care about my product's value. You can steal that value from me and give it back, and give it back to me, and ask for your money back. You can steal the value and take your money back, so you get the benefit from it without paying for it. That's always struck me as a really odd thing to do. And you've got these, again, one of the things that they were talking about in that interview, this class of guru who'll teach how to get people, how to basically reduce the refunds that you would inevitably get, and the chargebacks that you're going to eventually ultimately get if you are going to be selling basically crappy products. The idea when they come along and tell you, hey, I'm going to give you a 12-month ironclad, no questions asked guarantee, that's not a confidence in their wonderful product. That's what they want you to think. It's confidence in their wonderful product. But in reality, what that is they've done some tests, and they realized that The longer the guarantee that they give, number one, it gives off the impression that the product is, that's how confident they are in the product. So the customer feels some confidence, some comfort knowing that if I buy this, I'll always be able to return it. It's not gonna, I don't have to figure out if I want it or not within the next 2 weeks because the refund period will expire. I've got an entire year to get around to it. That's number one. Number two, they know that the longer that period is, the less likely anybody will actually do the refund once they have made the purchase. So they might even come in thinking, hey, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to check it out, and then I'm going to ask for a refund. They come in, like some customers, they want to play that game. They want to play tricks on the merchant, but the merchant is playing the trick right back in that he's saying, oh, don't worry, you got 12 months to figure it out. And so they know that after months have passed, this person is far less likely to come back and return the product. So none of this is to do with an actual confidence in the product. It's just a trick to ensure that, to make it so that they are offering a money back guarantee, but then they don't actually give one. And then when people come in and always notice canceling any of their programs, refunding any of their programs is always like pulling teeth. There isn't an easy way where you can say, hey, you know what, I don't want to be billed anymore. Let me just, cancel from here. I have to send out an email to somebody. I got to figure out who to send the email to. I got to ask them for the cancellation or the refund, and then you've got to basically justify it to them if they want to write back to you and try to convince you that you shouldn't, which is not exactly the way a refund should work. If you are going to offer a refund genuinely, no questions asked, and you really are offering it, then it means that I should be able to claim that refund for any reason. But that's in reality, nobody gives a refund policy. Has a refund policy which has no questions asked. There's always some conditions on that policy, right? But like I said, it's all about. It's just a sales trick. It's a copywriting trick to increase the number of immediate sales without any concern for what happens afterwards, because most of what these guys do is in and out. So what do we do as good marketers, as people who strive to be good marketers? I hope that you are one of those people who strive to be a good marketer and an ethical person and a good human being. What you do is you focus on delivering a really good product. You focus on solving the problems of your market, ensure that your product is the highest quality that you can possibly get it to be. And when you come to sell the product, it's actually pretty easy to do. I give a straightforward sort of a template. It's not, I wouldn't call it a formula necessarily, but a straightforward template that in the Super Traffic Machines Volume 3 offer, where I show you how you would put together a sales presentation about any product, whether it's yours or somebody else's. But if you are going to be selling somebody else's product, there are things that you could do to enhance that product and make it fulfill its promises better, fulfill the needs of the audience better. And there are obviously things that you could do to ensure that the product itself that you are going to be representing and putting your name to is one that is worthwhile. By the way, that's another thing. I don't do JVs. I just don't do joint venture promotions for anybody. I used to do it, and I found that the expectation was always that, hey, I'll promote, I promoted yours, or I will promote yours if you promote mine. And it doesn't actually matter. You can't actually say to them, hey, can I have a look at the product? Can I see what you're asking me to promote? You can't go and tell this guy, hey, you know what? I'm sorry, but this product I don't think that it's any good, that its quality is not good enough for my audience. I remember one time I had, I was asked to do a promotion for this guy who was working with somebody who I sort of owed a favor to. I didn't really owe a favor to, but somebody who thought that I owed him a favor. And so I didn't really want to endorse the product. I never did. I never wanted. It's not specifically this product. I didn't really want to. And I don't really generally want to endorse people's products when I think that their quality is questionable. And I thought that the marketing itself was just an indication of how ridiculous the product was. And I cracked a joke about the guy in the promotional email, and I got in trouble for it. Like, I got told off by my colleague who'd asked me to do the promo. What he didn't realize was that I wasn't trying to sabotage the promotion. He thought I was trying to sabotage the promotion. I wasn't. I was trying to do what he asked of me, in a way where I could kind of feel good about it. So basically, I didn't endorse. All I did was I said, "Hey, here's the thing. There's this product that's that you might want to look at, and here's a link to it," kind of thing. And I used a link-centric email, which is part of the technique with the link-centric email is to create a curiosity around it, and that was what that was. That was a device to get curiosity. And he didn't get that was me serving my purpose very well, without having to sell myself out to actually make that promotion, because it's really ridiculous to have to. I don't think anybody should have to do that, personally. That was in my amateur days, and I certainly don't like to do affiliate promotions for exactly this reason. You're expected to promote someone else's product. You have no knowledge whatsoever about it. Yet you're supposed to tell your people who trust you for advice that they should go ahead and purchase from this dude, not because it's good for them, but because, number one, you're going to get paid a commission. And number two, if you do this, then the other guy will owe you when you come and ask him to do a promotion for you. I think that is a really sad way to have to deal with your subscribers. So that's why I don't do affiliate promos anymore. So as I was saying, you're going to be doing so you would be you can still get the quality of your product. You can still get there are things that you can do to ensure that the product quality is good, even when it's not you who's producing the product as an affiliate marketer. Number one, in how you choose the product, and number two, in creating supporting materials around the product to enhance it and to make sure that it actually satisfies and fulfills your audience. So as I was saying earlier too, that's something we do, by the way, in the fourth manual and product manual. But in the third manual, we are focused on building a sales presentation which pitches the way that we order it is you will pitch the product before you've actually determined what product it's going to be, and there's a good reason for that, for doing it in that order. But anyway, like I said, it's a simple template, and just filling it out, it's just a series of questions essentially, which if you ask those questions and put their answers in the presentation, you've basically said everything that needs to be said about the product. If somebody's going to buy it, that's all that they need to see. If somebody's genuinely going to consider this product and it is a good product, that's all the information that they need to know about it. And so there's no voodoo tricks to get and to trick anybody into buying your product. There's none of that. I don't have those tricks to teach you. I don't think that you should ever need to use them. You shouldn't be using super secret sales psychology in order to trick people into buying your product. It's good. It serves them. That's what else they need to know. It solves their problem. That's it. That doesn't mean you shouldn't continue to try to sell it using email follow-up and things like that to keep giving people reasons for why they might want to consider your product. Maybe opening up their eyes to potential problems in their potential change of mindset that they need to have in order to understand, like, quite often the solution to a problem when somebody has it is to think about it differently from what the way they've been thinking about it. So that might be, you know, stuff that that you would take care of and follow up. But for the most part, sales presentations, I believe, should be quite straightforward, and we don't see anybody else doing it in any other industry except for this internet marketing industry. That's the truth of it. There's very little of this psychology and NLP stuff being done in any other industry. So that's what I have to say today. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you think that NLP and sales psychology is crucial to making sales, or if you feel relieved that you don't have to do that.